The Bremen Town Musicians. A certain man had a donkey which had carried the sacks of corn to the mill tirelessly for many long years, but his strength was going, and he was growing more and more unfit for work. Then his master began to consider doing away with him, but the donkey, seeing that trouble was in the air, ran away and set out on the road to Bremen. There, he thought, I can surely join the town band. When he walked some distance, he found a hound lying on the road, gasping like one who had run till he was tired. "Why are you gasping so, you big fellow?" asked the donkey. "Ah," replied the hound, "as I am old and daily grow weaker and no longer can hunt, my master wanted to kill me, so I took to flight. But now, how am I to earn my bread?" "I tell you what," said the donkey, "I am going to Bremen and shall be a town musician there. Go with me and engage yourself also as a musician. I will play the lute and you shall beat the kettle drum." The hound agreed, and on they went. Before long they came to a cat, sitting on the path, with a face like 3 rainy days. "Now then, old Whiskers, what has gone askew with you?" asked the donkey. "Who can be merry when his neck is in danger?" answered the cat. "Because I am now getting old, and my teeth are worn to stumps, and I prefer to sit by the fire and spin rather than hunt about after mice. My mistress wanted to drown me, so I ran away, but now good advice is scarce. Where am I to go?" "Go with us to Bremen. You understand night serenading. You can be a town musician." The cat thought well of it and went with them. After this, the 3 fugitives came to a farmyard where the cock was sitting upon the gate, crowing with all his might. "Your crow goes on and on," said the donkey. "What is the matter?" "I have been foretelling fine weather, because it is the day on which Our Lady washes the Christ child's little shirts and wants to dry them," said the cock. "But guests are coming for Sunday, so the housewife has no pity and has told the cook that she intends to eat me in the soup tomorrow, and this evening I am to have my head cut off. Now I am crowing at full pitch while I can." "Ah, but Redcomb," said the donkey, "you had better come away with us. We are going to Bremen. You can find something better than death everywhere. You have a good voice, and if we can make music together, it must have some quality." The cock agreed to his plan, and all 4 went on together. They could not, however, reach the city of Bremen in one day, and in the evening they came to a forest where they meant to pass the night. The donkey and the hound laid themselves down under a large tree, and the cat settled itself in the branches, and the cock flew right to the top, where he was most safe. Before he went to sleep, he looked round on all 4 sides, and thought he saw in the distance a little spark burning. So he called out to his companions that there must be a house not far off, for he saw a light. The donkey said, "If so, we had better get up and go on, for the shelter here is bad." The hound thought that a few bones with some meat on them would do him good too. So they made their way to the place where the light was, and soon saw it shined brighter and grew larger until they came to a well-lighted robber's house. The donkey, as the biggest, went to the window and looked in. "What do you see, my grey horse?" asked the cock. "What do I see?" answered the donkey. "A table covered with good things to eat and drink, and robbers sitting at it enjoying themselves." "That would be the sort of thing for us," said the cock. "Yes, yes. Ah, how I wish we were there," said the donkey. Then the animals took counsel together on how they should manage to drive away the robbers, and at last they thought of a plan. The donkey was to place himself with his 4 feet upon the window ledge. and the hound was to jump on the donkey's back. The cat was to climb upon the dog, and lastly the cock was to fly up and perch upon the head of the cat. When this was done, and at a given signal, they began to perform their music together. The donkey brayed, the hound barked, the cat mewed, and the cock crowed, and then they burst through the window into the room, so that the glass clattered. At this horrible din, the robbers sprang up, thinking that a ghost had come in, and fled in a great fright out of the forest. The four companions now sat down at the table, well content with what was left, and ate as if they were going to fast for a month. As soon as the four minstrels had done, they put out the light, and each sought for himself a sleeping place according to his nature and to what suited him. The donkey laid himself upon some straw in the yard, the hound behind the door, the cat upon the hearth near the warm ashes, and the cock perched himself upon a beam of the roof, and being tired from their long walk, they soon went to sleep. When it was past midnight, the robbers saw from afar that the light was no longer burning in the house, and all appeared quiet. The captain said, "We ought not to have let ourselves be frightened out of our wits," and ordered one of them to go and examine the house. The messenger, finding all still, went into the kitchen to light a candle, and, taking the glistening fiery eyes of the cat for live coals, he held a match to them to light it. But the cat did not think it was funny, and flew in his face, spitting and scratching. He was dreadfully frightened and ran to the back door, but the dog who lay there sprang up and bit his leg, and as he ran across the yard by the straw heap, the donkey gave him a smart kick with its hind foot. The cock, too, who had been awakened by the noise, had become lively and cried down from the beam, "Cock-a-doodle-doo!" Then the robber ran back as fast as he could to his captain and said, "Ah, there is a horrible witch sitting in the house, who spat on me and scratched my face with her long claws, and by the door stands a man with a knife, who stabbed me in the leg, and in the yard there lies a black monster, who beat me with a wooden club, and above, upon the roof, sits the judge, who called out, 'Bring the rogue here to me,' so I got away as well as I could." After this, the robbers did not trust themselves in the house again, but it suited the four musicians of Bremen so well that they did not care to leave it any more. And the mouth of the man who last told this story is still warm. And that was the end of the story. Well, I'm glad it was like a happy ending. There seems to, the stories I've been reading so far have been quite, what's the word for it? Savage? Is that the word? Okay, just gonna have a drink of water before we continue with the next story. Oh, hello, Eagle. I think I've caught up with everyone. Okay, the next story is called The Singing Bone. In a certain country, there was once great lamentation over a wild boar that ravaged the farmers' fields, killed the cattle, and ripped up people's bodies with his tusks. The king promised a large reward to anyone who would free the land from this plague, but the beast was so big and strong that no one dared to go near the forest in which it lived. At last the king gave notice that whoever should capture or kill the wild boar should have his only daughter as wife. Now there lived in the country 2 brothers, sons of a poor man, who declared themselves willing to undertake the hazardous enterprise, the elder, who was crafty and shrewd, out of pride, and the younger, who was innocent and simple from a kind heart. The king said, "In order to be sure of finding the beast, you must go into the forest from opposite sides." So the elder went in from the west side, and the younger on the east. When the younger had gone a short way, a little man stepped up to him. He held in his hand a black spear and said, "I give you the spear because your heart is pure and good. With this you can boldly attack the wild boar, and it will do you no harm." He thanked the little man, shouldered the spear, and went on fearlessly. Before long he saw the beast, which rushed at him, but he held the spear towards it, and in its blind fury it ran so swiftly against it that its heart was cut in two. Then he took the monster on his back and went homewards with it to the king. As he came out at the other side of the wood, there stood at the entrance a house where people were making merry with wine and dancing. His elder brother had gone in here, and thinking that after all the boar would not run away, was going to drink until he felt brave. But when he saw his young brother coming out of the wood, laden with his booty, he was envious. Evil heart gave him no peace. He called out to him, "Come in, dear brother, rest and refresh yourself with a cup of wine." The youth, who suspected no evil, went in and told him about the good little man who had given him the spear with which he had slain the boar. The elder brother kept him there until the evening, and then they went away together. And when in the darkness they came to a bridge over a brook, the elder brother let the other go first. And when he was halfway across him, he gave him such a blow from behind that he fell down dead. He buried him beneath the bridge, took the boar, and carried it to the king, pretending that he had killed it. Whereupon he obtained the king's daughter in marriage. And when his younger brother did not come back, he said, "The boar must have killed him," and everyone believed it. But nothing remains hidden from God. This black deed was to come to light. Years afterwards, a shepherd was driving his herd across the bridge and saw lying in the sand beneath a snow-white little bone. He thought that it would make a good mouthpiece, so he clambered down, picked it up, and cut out of it a mouthpiece for his horn. But when he blew through it for the first time, to his great astonishment, the bone began of its own accord to sing. "Ah, friend, you blow upon my bone. Long have I lain beside the water, and my brother had slew me for the boar, and took for his wife the king's young daughter." What a wonderful horn! said the shepherd. "It sings by itself. I must take it to my lord the king." Not exactly the best song. And when he came with it to the king, the horn began to sing its little song. The king understood it all and ordered the ground below the bridge to be dug up. And then the whole skeleton of the murdered man came to light. The wicked brother could not deny the deed, and was sewn up in a sack and drowned. But the bones of the murdered man were laid to rest in a beautiful tomb in the churchyard. That is an extremely sad story. What on earth? Nobody really won. That's terrible. That was only two pages, and that was so tragic. My goodness. Hello, sunset. Okay, now we will carry on with the next story. This one is quite a few pages. Okay, I will drink then, because it's quite a bit. Also, if you're wondering why sometimes I just pause and don't say anything, it's because someone comes into my room and I have to quickly mute myself before they dox me or something. Anyway, rightio, the next story is called The Devil with the Three Golden Hairs. There was once a poor woman who gave birth to a little son, and as he came into the world with a A call on? What's this? C-A-U-L. What's that word? It was predicted that in his 14th year, he would have the king's daughter for his wife. Very, very young. It happened that soon afterwards the king came into the village, and no one knew that he was a king. And when he asked the people what news there was, they answered, a child had just been born with the C-A-U-L on. Whatever he undertakes in life will turn out well. It is prophesied, too, that in his 14th year he will have the king's daughter for his wife. The king, who had a bad heart, was angry about the prophecy, went to the parents, and seeming quite friendly, said, "You poor people, let me have your child, and I will take care of it." At first they refused, but when the stranger offered them a large amount of gold for it, and then they thought, it is a luck child, and everything must turn out well for it, they at last consented and gave him the child. The king put it in a box and rode away with it until he came to a deep piece of water. Then he threw the box into it and thought, I have freed my daughter from her unlooked-for suitor. The box, however, did not sink, but floated like a boat, and not a drop of water made its way into it. And it floated to within 2 miles of the king's chief city, where there was a mill, and it came to a standstill at the mill dam. A miller's boy, who by good luck was standing there, noticed it and pulled it out with a hook, thinking that he had found a great treasure. But when he opened, there lay a pretty boy inside, quite fresh and lively. He took him to the miller and his wife, and as they had no children, they were glad, and said, God had given him to us. They took great care of the foundling, and he grew up in all goodness. It happened that once in a storm, the king went into the mill, and he asked the miller and his wife if the tall youth was their son. No, answered they, he's a foundling. 14 years ago he floated down to the mill dam in a box, and the mill boy pulled him out of the water. Then the king knew that it was none other than the luck child which he had thrown into the water, and he said, My good people, could not the youth take a letter to the queen? I will give him 2 gold pieces as a reward. Just as the king commands, answered they, and they told the boy to get ready. Then the king wrote a letter to the queen, in which he said, As soon as the boy arrives with this letter, let him be killed and buried, and all must be done before I come home. The boy set out with this letter, but he lost his way, and in the evening came to a large forest. In the darkness he saw a small light. He went towards it and reached a cottage. When he went in, an old woman was sitting by the fire quite alone. She started when she saw the boy and said, From where do you come, and where are you going? I come from the mill, he answered, and wish to go to the queen, to whom I am taking a letter. But as I have lost my way in the forest, I would like to stay here overnight. You poor boy, said the woman, you have come into a den of thieves, and when they come home, they will kill you. Let them come, said the boy. I am not afraid, but I am so tired that I cannot go any farther. And he stretched himself upon a bench and fell asleep. Soon afterwards the robbers came, and angrily asked what strange boy was lying there. Ah, said the old woman, it is an innocent child who has lost himself in the forest, and out of pity I have let him come in. He has to take a letter to the queen. The robbers opened the letter and read it, and in it was written that as soon as he arrived, the boy should be put to death. Then the hard-hearted robbers felt pity, and the leader tore up the letter and wrote another, saying that as soon as the boy came, he should be married at once to the king's daughter. Wow, okay. Then they let him lie quietly on the bench until the next morning, and when he awoke, they gave him the letter and showed him the right way. And the queen, when she had received the letter and read it, did as what was written in it, and had a splendid wedding feast prepared, and the king's daughter was married to the luck child, and as the youth was handsome and agreeable, she lived with him in joy and contentment. After some time, the king returned to his palace and saw that the prophecy was fulfilled, and the luck child married to his daughter. "How has that come to pass?" said he. "I gave quite another order in my letter." So the queen gave him the letter and said that he might see for himself what was written in it. The king read the letter and saw quite well that it had been exchanged for the other. He asked the youth what had become of the letter entrusted to him, and why he had brought another instead of it. "I know nothing about it," answered he. "It must have been changed in the night when I slept in the forest." The king said in a passion, "You shall not have everything quite so much your way. Whoever marries my daughter must fetch me from hell 3 golden hairs from the head of the devil. Bring me what I want, and you shall keep my daughter." In this way the king hoped to be rid of him forever. But the luck child answered, "I will fetch the golden hairs. I am not afraid of the devil." Thereupon he took leave of them and began his journey. The road led him to a large town, where the watchman by the gates asked him what his trade was and what he knew. "I know everything," answered the luck child. "Then can you do us a favour?" said the watchman. "If you will tell us why our marketplace's fountain, which once flowed with wine, has become dry and no longer gives even water." "That you shall know," answered he. "Only wait until I come back." Then he went farther and came to another town, and there also the gatekeeper asked him what was his trade and what he knew. "I know everything," answered he. "Then can you do us a favour and tell us why a tree in our town, which once bore golden apples, now does not even put forth leaves?" "You shall know that," answered he. "Only wait until I come back." Then he went on and came to a wide river, which he must go. The ferryman asked him what his trade was and what he knew. "I know everything," answered he. "Then can you do me a favour," said the ferryman, "and tell me why I must always be rowing backwards and forwards, and no one comes to relieve me?" "You shall know that," answered he. "Only wait until I come back." When he had crossed the water, he found the entrance to hell. It was black and sooty within, and the devil was not home. But his grandmother was sitting in a large armchair. "What do you want?" she said to him, but she did not look so very wicked. "I should like to have 3 golden hairs from the devil's head," answered he. "Else I cannot keep my wife." "That is a good deal to ask for," said she. "If the devil comes home and finds you, it will cost you your life. But as I pity you, I will see if I cannot help you." She changed him into an ant and said, "Creep into the folds of my dress, and you will be safe there." "Yes," answered he. "So far, so good. But there are 3 things besides that I want to know. Why a fountain which once flowed with wine has become dry, and no longer gives even water? Why a tree which once bore golden apples does not even put forth leaves? And why a ferryman must always be going backwards and forwards, and is never set free?" "Those are difficult questions," answered she. "But only be silent and quiet, and pay attention to what the devil says when I pull out the 3 golden hairs." As evening came, the devil returned home. No sooner had he entered than he noticed that the air was not pure. "I smell man's flesh," said he. "All is not right here." Then he pried into every corner and searched, but could not find anything. His grandmother scolded him. "It has just been swept," said she, and everything put in order, and now you are upsetting it again. You have always got man's flesh in your nose. Sit down and eat your supper." When he had eaten and drunk, he was tired, and laid his head in his grandmother's lap, and before long he was fast asleep, snoring and breathing heavily. Then the old woman took hold of golden hair, pulled it out, and laid it down near her. "Oh," cried the devil, "what are you doing?" "I have had a bad dream," answered the grandmother, "so I seized hold of your hair." "What did you dream of, then?" said the devil. "I dreamed that a fountain in the marketplace, from which wine once flowed, was dried up, and not even water would flow out of it. What could be the cause of it?" "Oh, if they did but know it," answered the devil, "there is a toad sitting under a stone in the well. If they killed it, the wine would flow again." He went to sleep again and snored until the windows shook. Then she pulled the second hair out. "Ouch! What are you doing?" cried the devil angrily. "Do not get angry," said she. "I did it in a dream." "What have you dreamt this time?" asked he. "I dreamt that in a certain kingdom there stood an apple tree which had once borne golden apples, but now would not even bear leaves. What do you think was the reason?" "Oh, if they did but know," answered the devil. "A mouse is gnawing at the root. If they killed this, they would have the golden apples again, but if it gnaws much longer, the tree will wither altogether. But leave me alone with your dreams. If you disturb me in my sleep again, you will get a slap on the ear." The grandmother spoke gently to him until he fell asleep again and snored. Then she took hold of the third golden hair and pulled it out. The devil jumped up, roared out, and would have treated her ill if she had not quieted him once more and said, "Who can help bad dreams?" "What was the dream, then?" asked he, and was quite curious. "I dreamt of a ferryman who complained that he must always ferry from one side to the other and was never released. What is the cause of it?" "Ah, the fool!" answered the devil. "When anyone comes and wants to go across, he must put the oar in his hand, and the other man will have to ferry, and he will be free." As the grandmother had plucked out the 3 golden hairs, and the 3 questions were answered, she let the old serpent alone, and he slept until daybreak. When the devil had gone out again, the old woman took the ant out of the folds of her dress, and gave the luck child his human shape again. "There are 3 golden hairs for you," said she. "What the devil said to your 3 questions, I suppose you heard." "Yes," answered he, "I heard and will take care to remember." "You have what you want," said she, "and now you can go your way." He thanked the old woman for helping him in his need, and left her well content that everything had turned out so fortunately. When he came to the ferryman, he was expected to give the promised answer. "Ferry me across first," said the luck child, "and then I will tell you how you can be set free." And when he reached the opposite shore, he gave him the devil's advice. "Next time anyone comes who wants to be ferried over, just put the oar in his hand." He went on and came to the town where the unfruitful tree stood, and there too the watchman wanted an answer. So he told him what he had heard from the devil. "Kill the mouse that is gnawing at its root, and it will bear golden apples again." Then the watchman thanked him and gave him as a reward two asses. Two asses? Like donkeys. 2 donkeys laden with gold, which followed him. I was so confused. At last, he came to the town whose well was dry. He told the watchman what the devil had said. "A toad is in the well beneath the stone. You must find it and kill it, and the well will again give wine in plenty." The watchman thanked him and also gave him 2 asses laden with gold. Okay, at last the luck child got home to his wife, who was heartily glad to see him again, and to hear how well he had prospered and everything. To the king he took what he had asked for, the devil's 3 golden hairs, and when the king saw the 4 asses laden with gold, he was quite content, and now said, "All the conditions are fulfilled, and you can keep my daughter. But tell me, dear son-in-law, where did all that gold come from? This is tremendous wealth." "I was rowed across the river," answered he, "and when I got there, the shore is made of gold instead of sand." "Can I too fetch some of it?" said the king, and he was quite eager about it. "Oh, as much as you like," said he. "There is a ferryman on the river. Let him ferry you over, and you can fill your sacks on the other side." The greedy king set out in all haste, and when he came to the river, he beckoned to the ferryman to put him across. The ferryman came and bade him to get in, and when they got to the other shore, he put his oar in his hand and sprang out. But from this time forth the king had to ferry as a punishment for his sins. Perhaps he is still ferrying. If he is, it is because no one has taken the oar from him. And that was the end of the story. Oh gosh. That was quite the story. Okay, I will now take a break just to drink water. Oh, thank you for the follow, Zach man. Did I miss anyone? No? Nope, I think I said hello to everyone. Okay, I'll just take a drink. Oh, I've got spring rolls for dinner tonight. Time seems to go really fast when I'm book reading. Can't believe it's it's already, halfway there. Okay, the louse and the flea. A louse and a flea kept house together and were brewing beer in an eggshell. Then the little louse fell in and burnt herself. At this the little flea began to scream loudly. Then said the little door, "Little flea, why are you screaming?" "Because the louse has burnt herself." Then the little door began to creak. At this a little broom in the corner said, "Why are you creaking, little door?" "Have I not reason to creak?" "The little louse has burnt herself. The little flea is weeping." So the little broom began to sweep frantically. Then a little cart passed by and said, "Why are you sweeping, little broom?" "Have I not reason to sweep?" "The little louse has burnt herself. The little flea is weeping. The little door is creaking." So the little cart said, "Then I will run," and began to run wildly. Then the garbage heap by which it ran, "Why are you running so, little cart?" "Have I not reason to run? The little louse has burnt herself. The little flea is weeping. The little door is creaking. The little broom is sweeping." The garbage heap said, "Then I will burn furiously," and began to burn in clear flames. A little tree stood near the heap and said, "Garbage heap, why are you burning? Have I not reason to burn? The little louse has burnt herself. The little flea is weeping. The little door is creaking. The little broom is sweeping. The little cart is running." The little tree said, "Then I will shake myself," and began to shake herself so that all her leaves fell off. A girl who came up with her water pitcher saw that and said, "Little tree, why are you shaking yourself?" "Have I not reason to shake myself? The little louse has burnt herself. The little flea is weeping. The little door is creaking. The little broom is sweeping. The little cart is running. The little heap is burning. At this the girl said, Then I will break my little water pitcher. And she broke her little water pitcher. Then said the little spring from which ran the water, Girl, why are you breaking your water jug? Have I not reason to break my water jug? The little louse has burnt herself. The little flea is weeping. The little door is creaking. The little broom is sweeping. The little cart is running. The little heap is burning. And the little tree is shaking itself. Oh, said the spring, then I will begin to flow. And began to flow violently, and in the water everything was drowned. The girl, the little tree, the little garbage heap, the little cart, the little broom, the little door, the little flea, and the little louse all together. That was the end of the story. What on earth? I went through all that reading just for all of them to just die like that. What? Oh my goodness, that's terrible. Oh gosh. Yes, they all just drowned. A terrible fate. Oh really, Zachman? That's interesting. I'm just reading the Grimm's Complete Fairy Tale, so the very, very old stories. Most of these I had no idea. Okay, and now we are going to read another story. I will just take a drink of water. Okay, the next story is called The Girl Without Hands. A certain miller had little by little fallen into poverty, and had nothing left but his mill and a large apple tree behind it. Once, when he had gone into the forest to fetch wood, an old man stepped up to him whom he had never seen before, and said, Why do you plague yourself with cutting wood? I will make you rich, if you will promise me what is standing behind your mill. What can that be but my apple tree? Thought the miller, and said, Yes, and gave a written promise to the stranger. He, however, laughed mockingly and said, When 3 years have passed, I will come and carry away what belongs to me. And then he went. When the miller got home, his wife came to meet him and said, Tell me, miller, from where comes this sudden wealth into our house? All at once every box and chest was filled. No one brought it in, and I know not how it happened. He answered, It comes from a stranger who had met me in the forest, and promised me great treasure. I, in return, have promised him what stands behind the mill. We can very well give him the big apple tree for it. Ah, husband, said the terrified wife, that must have been the devil. He did not mean the apple tree, but our daughter, who was standing behind the mill sweeping the yard. The miller's daughter was a beautiful, God-fearing girl, and lived through the 3 years in piety and without sin. When therefore the time was over, and the day came when the evil one was to fetch her, she washed herself clean, and made a circle round herself with chalk. The devil appeared quite early, but he could not come near her. Angrily he said to the miller, Take all water away from her, that she may no longer be able to wash herself, for otherwise I have no power over her. The miller was afraid and did so. The next morning the devil came again, but she had wept on her hands, and they were quite clean. Again he could not get near her, and furiously said to the miller, Cut her hands off, or else I cannot get the better of her. The miller was shocked and answered, How could I cut off my own child's hands? Then the evil one threatened him and said, If you do not do it, you are mine, and I will take you yourself." The father became alarmed and promised to obey him. So he went to the girl and said, "My child, if I do not cut off both your hands, the devil will carry me away, and in my terror I have promised to do it. Help me in my need and forgive me the harm I do you." She replied, "Dear father, do with me what you will. I am your child." Thereupon she laid down both her hands and let them be cut off. The devil came for the third time, but she had wept so long and so much on the stumps that after all they were quite clean. Then he had to give in and had lost all right over her. The miller said to her, "Because of you I have received such great wealth that I will keep you most delicately as long as you live." But she replied, "Here I cannot stay. I will go forth. Compassionate people will give me as much as I require." Thereupon she had maimed her arms bound to her back, and by sunrise she set out on her way, and walked the whole day until night fell. Then she came to a royal garden, and by the shimmering of the moon she saw that the trees covered with beautiful fruits grew in it, but she could not enter, for there was much water round about it. And as she had walked the whole day and not eaten one mouthful, and hunger tormented her, she thought, "Ah, if I were but inside, then I might eat the fruit, else I must die of hunger." Then she knelt down, called on God the Lord, and prayed. And suddenly an angel came towards her, who made a dam in the water so that the moat became dry and she could walk through it. And now she went into the garden, and the angel went with her. She saw a tree covered with beautiful pears, but they were all counted. Then she went to them, and to still her hunger, ate one with her mouth from the tree, but no more. The gardener was watching, but as the angel was standing by, he was afraid and thought the maiden was a spirit, and was silent. Neither did he dare to cry out or to speak to the spirit. When she had eaten the pear, she was satisfied, and went and concealed herself among the bushes. The king to which the garden belonged came down to it the next morning and counted, and saw that one of the pears was missing, and asked the gardener what had become of it, as it was not lying beneath the tree, but was gone. Then answered the gardener, "Last night a spirit came in, who had no hands, and ate one of the pears with its mouth." The king said, "How did the spirit get over the water, and where did it go after it had eaten the pear?" The gardener answered, "Someone from heaven came in a snow-white garment and made a dam, and he kept back the water, that the spirit might walk through the moat. And as it might have been an angel, I was afraid, and asked no questions and did not cry out. When the spirit had eaten the pear, it went back again." The king said, "If it is as you say, I will watch with you tonight." When it grew dark, the king came into the garden and brought a priest with him, who was to speak to the spirits. All three seated themselves beneath the tree and watched. At midnight the maiden came creeping out of the thicket, went to the tree, and again ate one pear off it with her mouth, and stood beside her the angel in white garments. Then the priest went out to them and said, "Come you from heaven or from earth? Are you a spirit or a human being?" She replied, "I am no spirit, but an unhappy mortal deserted by all but God." The king said, "Though you are forsaken by all the world, I will not forsake you." He took her with him into his royal palace, and as she was so beautiful and good, he loved her with all his heart, had silver hands made for her, and took her for his wife. After a year, the king had to go to war, so he placed his young queen in the care of his mother, and said, "If she is brought to bed, take care of her, nurse her well, and tell me of it at once in a letter." Then she gave birth to a fine boy. So the old mother made haste to write and announce the joyful news to him. But the messenger rested by a brook on the way, and as he was fatigued by the great distance, he fell asleep. Then came the devil, who was always seeking to injure the good queen, and exchanged a letter for another, in which was written that the king had brought a monster into the world. When the king read the letter, he was shocked and much troubled, but wrote in answer that they were to take great care of the queen and nurse her well until his arrival. The messenger went back with the letter, but rested at the same place again and fell asleep. Then came the devil once more, put a different letter in his pocket, in which it was written that they were to put the queen and her child to death. The old mother was terribly shocked when she received the letter, and could not believe it. She wrote back again to the king, but received no other answer, because each time the devil substituted a false letter, and in the last letter it was also written that she was to preserve the queen's tongue and eyes as a token that she had obeyed. But the old mother wept to think such innocent blood was to be shed, and had a doe brought by night, and cut off her tongue and eyes, and kept them. Then she said to the queen, "I cannot have you killed as the king commands, but you may stay here no longer. Go forth into the wide world with your child, and never come here again." The poor woman tied her child on her back, and went away with eyes full of tears. She came into a great wild forest, and then she fell on her knees and prayed to God. And the angel of the Lord appeared to her and led her to a little house on which was a sign with the words, "Here all dwell free." A snow-white maiden came out of the little house and said, "Welcome, Lady Queen," and led her inside. Then they unbound the little boy from her back and held him to her breast that he might feed, and laid him in a beautifully made little bed. Then said the poor woman, "How do you know that I was a queen?" The white maiden answered, "I am an angel sent by God to watch over you and your child." The queen stayed 7 years in the little house and was well cared for, and by God's grace, because of her piety, her hands which had been cut off grew once more. At last the king came home again from the war, and his first wish was to see his wife and child. Then his aged mother began to weep and said, "You wicked man, why did you write to me that I was to take those 2 innocent lives?" And she showed him the 2 letters which the evil one had forged, and then continued, "I did as you bade me." And she showed the tokens, the tongue and eyes. Then the king began to weep for his poor wife and his little son so much more bitterly than she was doing, that the aged mother had compassion on him and said, "Be at peace, she still lives. I secretly had a doe killed, and took these tokens from it, but I bound the child to your wife's back, and bade her to go forth into the wide world, and made a promise never to come back here again, because you were so angry with her." Then spoke the king, "I will go as far as the sky is blue, and will neither eat nor drink until I have found again my dear wife and my child, if in the meantime they have not been killed or died of hunger." Thereupon the king travelled for about 7 long years, and sought her in every cleft of the rocks and in every cave. But he did not find her, and thought she had died of want. During the whole of this time he neither ate nor drank, but God supported him. At length he came into a great forest, and found therein the little house, whose sign was, "Here all dwell free." Then forth came the white maiden, took him by the hand, led him in, and said, "Welcome, Lord King," and asked him from where he came. He answered, "I have travelled about for the space of 7 years, and I seek my wife and her child, but cannot find them." The angel offered him meat and drink, but he did not take anything, and only wished to rest a little. Then he lay down to sleep and put a handkerchief over his face. Thereupon the angel went into the chamber where the queen sat with her son, whom she usually called Sorrowful, and said to her, "Go out with your child, your husband has come." So she went to the place where he lay, and the handkerchief fell from his face. Then said she, "Sorrowful, pick up your father's handkerchief and cover his face again." The child picked it up and put it over his face again. The king in his sleep heard what passed and had pleasure in letting the handkerchief fall once more. But the child grew impatient and said, "Dear mother, how can I cover my father's face when I have no father in this world? I have learnt to say the prayer, 'Our Father, which art in heaven.' You have told me that my father was in heaven and was the good God. And how can I recognize a wild man like this? He is not my father." When the king heard that, he got up and asked who they were. Then said she, "I am your wife, and that is your son, Sorrowful." And he saw her living hands and said, "My wife had silver hands." She answered, "The good God caused my natural hands to grow again." And the angel went into the inner room and brought the silver hands and showed them to him. Then he knew for a certainty that it was his dear wife and his dear child, and he kissed them and was glad and said, "A heavy stone has fallen off my heart." Then the angel of God gave them one meal with her, and after that they went home to the king's aged mother. There were great rejoicings everywhere, and the king and queen were married again and lived contentedly to their happy end. Okay, well that was the end of the story. I just need to double check if we have time for another. Okay, we have time for another. Okay, so the last story. Oh, hello, Creeks. Nice to see you, my friend. So the last story that we are going to read is Clever Hans. Is that how you say it? I'm gonna assume it is, unless someone tells me otherwise. Okay. The mother of Hans said, "Where away, Hans?" Hans answered, "To Gretel." "Behave well, Hans." "Oh, I'll behave well. Goodbye, mother." "Goodbye, Hans." Hans comes to Gretel. "Good day, Gretel." "Good day, Hans. What do you bring that is good?" "I bring nothing." "I want to have something given to me." I don't know why that sounds so funny. Gretel presents Hans with a needle. Hans says, "Goodbye, Gretel." "Goodbye, Hans." Hans takes the needle, sticks it into the hay cart, and follows the cart home. "Good evening, mother." "Good evening, Hans. Where have you been?" "With Gretel." "What did you take her?" "Took nothing, had something given to me." "What did Gretel give you?" "Gave me a needle." "Where is the needle, Hans?" "Stuck it in the hay cart." "That was foolish, Hans. You should have stuck the needle in your sleeve." "Never mind, I'll do better next time." "Where away, Hans?" "To Gretel, mother." "Behave well, Hans." "Oh, I'll behave well. Goodbye, mother." "Goodbye, Hans." Hans comes to Gretel. "Good day, Gretel." "Good day, Hans. What do you bring that is good?" "I bring nothing. I want to have something given to me." Gretel presents Hans with a knife. "Goodbye, Gretel." "Goodbye, Hans." Why does this read like a movie script? Hans takes the knife, sticks it in his sleeve, and goes home. "Good evening, mother." "Good evening, Hans. Where have you been?" "With Gretel." "What did you take her?" "Took her nothing. She gave me something." What did Gretel give you?" "Gave me a knife." "Where is the knife, Hans?" "Stuck in my sleeve." "That's foolish, Hans. You should have put the knife in your pocket." "Never mind, we'll do better next time." "Where away, Hans?" "To Gretel, mother." "Behave well, Hans." "Oh, I'll behave well. Goodbye, mother." "Goodbye, Hans." Hans comes to Gretel. "Good day, Gretel." "Good day, Hans. What good thing do you bring?" "I bring nothing. I want something given to me." Gretel presents Hans with a young goat. "Goodbye, Gretel." "Goodbye, Hans." Hans takes the goat, ties its legs, and puts it in his pocket. What kind of goat is this? When he gets home, it is suffocated. Oh, good evening, Mother. Good evening, Hans. Where have you been? With Gretel. What did you take her? Took nothing. She gave me something. What did Gretel give you? She gave me a goat. Where is the goat, Hans? I put it in my pocket. That was foolish, Hans. You should have put a rope round the goat's neck. Never mind. We'll do better next time. Where away, Hans? To Gretel, Mother. Behave well, Hans. Oh, I'll behave well. Goodbye, Mother. Goodbye, Hans. Hans comes to Gretel. Good day, Gretel. Good day, Hans. What good thing do you bring? I bring nothing. I want something given to me. Gretel presents Hans with a piece of bacon. Goodbye, Gretel. Goodbye, Hans. Oh my god, how long is this story? Okay, wait, 1.5 page more of the silliness. Hans takes the bacon, ties it to a rope, and drags it away behind him. The dogs come and devour the bacon. When he gets home, he has the rope in his hand, but there is no longer anything hanging to it. Good evening, Mother. Good evening, Hans. Where have you been? With Gretel. What did you take her? I took her nothing. She gave me something. What did Gretel give you? Gave me a bit of bacon. Where is the bacon, Hans? I tied it to a rope, brought it home, and the dogs took it. That was foolish, Hans. You should have carried the bacon on your head. Never mind. We'll do better next time. Where away, Hans? To Gretel, Mother. Behave well, Hans. I'll behave well. Goodbye, Mother. Goodbye, Hans. Hans comes to Gretel. Good day, Gretel. Good day, Hans. What good thing do you bring? I bring nothing, but would have something given. Gretel presents Hans with the calf. Goodbye, Gretel. Goodbye, Hans. Hans takes the calf, puts it on his head, and the calf kicks his face. Okay, good evening, Mother. Good evening, Hans. Where have you been? With Gretel. What did you take her? I took nothing, but had something given to me. What did Gretel give you? A calf. Where is the calf, Hans? I set it on my head, and it kicked my face. That was foolish, Hans. You should have led the calf and put it in the stall. Never mind. We'll do better next time. Where away, Hans? To Gretel, Mother. Behave well, Hans. I'll behave well. Goodbye, Mother. Goodbye, Hans. I would go crazy if I interacted with my mum and my sister this way. Hans comes to Gretel. Good day, Gretel. Good day, Hans. What good thing do you bring? I bring nothing, but would have something given. Gretel says to Hans, I will go with you. Oh my gosh, she learned her lesson. Hans takes Gretel. Okay, Hans takes Gretel, ties her to a rope, leads her to the feed rack, and binds her fast. Then Hans goes to his mother. Good evening, Mother. Good evening, Hans. Where have you been? With Gretel. What did you take her? I took her nothing. What did Gretel give you? She gave me nothing. She came with me. Where have you left Gretel? I led her by the rope. What? Tied her to the rack and scattered some grass for her. That was foolish, Hans. You should have cast friendly eyes on her. Never mind, we'll do better. Hans went to the stable, cut out all the calves and sheep's eyes, and threw them in Gretel's face. Then Gretel became angry, tore herself loose and ran away, and never became the bride of Hans. That was the end of the story. Oh my gosh, why did he do that? That is not how you treat women. I hope you learned something from that story. Do not tie your woman with a rope and leave her outside. It's not very nice. Oh, goodness me. That was really strange. Well, and that was the end of our book reading for today.